Day 7 of the Brian Walsh trial. I personally had a terrible morning and had to buy a brand new phone unexpectedly, which is why this is a little late. But things didn't go great for Brian Walsh either today. The judge begins by saying somebody needs to see me, and the defense asks for a sidebar, and this is a long sidebar. Long. I would not be shocked if people watching the trial online literally quit at this point. Eventually, the jury made it in. The same witnesses yesterday is up. Defense asks about white powder residue. It has absolutely nothing to do, actually, with the white color discoloration in the bedroom. I know some other people were wondering about that. It was sent out to the arson unit, I think he said, and it was confirmed to be what everyone expected, baking soda, because Brian Walsh bought quite a bit of it. They didn't test all the white clumps. Some of the cleaning bottles had not been used. The cabinet that had the knife had unopened bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and in no report written was there talk of blood splatter. So the defense is kind of painting this look. He didn't even have to use all these cleaning supplies. Well, he obviously used the baking soda and some other stuff, and there's no blood spatter, but of course you can kill someone without blood spatter. Luminol was never used in the home. Witness explains how DNA confirmatory tests work. They discuss how sensitive the test is. He has the witness confirms it identifies up to 20 nanograms per milliliter. So the areas that were negative didn't even have that much hemoglobin. They show the rug where Ana was playing with the kids. He can't confirm that's the rug he tested, but it looks similar. That rug was not there when he was in the house. They didn't do any biological testing in the living room at all, or at least he didn't. He doesn't know if anyone pieced together the rug pieces into one rug. Talk of the knife in the cabinet with the hydrogen peroxide. The witness can't say if the knife had blood on it or not. The knife had actually never had further testing. So maybe they were like the same with me, where, I mean, especially after they got results elsewhere that we'll get to, it's a knife in a kitchen. It could have blood from cutting yourself. It could have blood. I could have false positive because they ate broccoli. A lot of different reasons. That step in the basement, the broken step, we find out it was actually one of the investigators that broke it. They did no confirmatory test on the red-brown stain on that final step. He does not know a Trooper Sullivan. It was about 10 people in the house all day. The people there collaborate and rely on each other's notes to be accurate. There's a sidebar about baseboards and other people's field notes. Basically, the defense wants it in, state's trying to fight against it. Sidebar ends, and the defense asks for another sidebar before their next question. A lot of sidebars. He looked at the reports from the home to understand the full situation. He reviewed the report of Trooper Devlin. He says it wouldn't be important to his examination to know that the discoloration he saw on the wall on the 9th wasn't in the reports on the 8th. So the defense is painting that picture of, what if the investigators screwed up the crime scene? What if they spread trace material? What if they are the reason it looks so bad? I don't know how this is going to reconcile if the defense is going to go with the fact that Brian Walsh admits to killing and chopping, well, not killing, but chopping her up. But he's playing it out right now. This witness did not review her field notes. Sounds like the defense wants to give them to him, and there's a sidebar. They give Trooper Devlin's report. He asks if her report says the stain found the 9th was not there on the 8th. There's an objection sustained. Her report does not refresh his recollection because he didn't look there on the 8th. So he can't testify to it because he didn't see it, and it's only in her report, and she's not the one testifying, but it gets through to the defense. The defense gets it through the jury, right? That, like, even though it's, blocked, the jury now has it in their head, what if there was a screw up, right? Now, they pull up the dark gray slippers, and the witness says he took samples from the inside looking for skin cells to avoid cross-contamination. They would help identify if someone wore them. He doesn't know who the slippers are or how the staining got there. He doesn't know what bag they were found in. He can't tell the jury what else was in the bag. We're going to notice a theme here where it's a lot of talk of you don't actually know the crime scene because you don't know how cross contamination happened. That's going to be a big thing. So it sounds bad. There's blood on this, but you don't know how it got there. Um, when things are put into a bag and pressed in a compactor, they can be cross contaminated. He doesn't know if the hair was on the slipper when it was compacted or into it, or it was there before. Excuse me. The photos might not depict the condition they are in the bag. So basically, again, a lot going on there. Talk of the hair and how what some of the hair was human, some of it was animal. There was a substance on the hair. He didn't think it was skin tissue. Hair can just fall out naturally, including with the root attached. He cannot tell the jury how the biological evidence got on the tools, and it could all be from cross contamination, technically. They never explain what the greasy oil, they never examined the greasy, oily residue. Now, if you don't remember, he commented that a greasy, oily residue on an axe could be from chopping into a person, like fatty tissue, but he didn't go to the store and check to see if the same tools always have an oily, greasy residue. When the state comes back up, he does not test all areas of a crime scene, just areas that are forensically relevant. Negative result can mean things were cleaned. Washing the wall would impact it. Cleaning materials, including water, can limit DNA. Hydrogen peroxide can limit it. They bring up photo of the living room. There was a carpet in the living room, but not the one tested in the lab. He doesn't know if the objects went into the compactor. There's a recross. He also mentioned how the fireplace appeared to have repair work, but that wasn't examined, and that could just be foam to prevent a child from hurting themselves on the sharp brick. And that's the first witness. And then we get Bryce Raymond, forensic scientist. They go through his credentials and duties, and he explains what DNA is and the process to test DNA. And that's all I'm going to tell you because it's just going through the process. The fence is up. He depends on the samples to give him the results. He doesn't know where the samples came from or how they were collected. DNA can give mixtures, and he can't determine how they came into contact with each other. The DNA results don't explain what happened at the crime scene. And then we get a morning jury break. There's talk of needing a voir dire, and the judge calls him to the bench. We come back, and next is Brianna Kiesel. If I mispronounce any of the names, I apologize. There's a lot of individuals today. A lot. Because you're going to hear these samples went through a team. She's a forensic scientist. She goes through the credentials and training. She processed the interior of the dark gray slippers and stain on the exterior left slipper. Explains it was all done, and also with a tissue. She made the vials for it. She also worked on Tyvek suit samples. She worked on the unknown tissue from the dumpster, and there's no cross. She's basically here, I worked on this. Next is Madison Frank, forensic scientist. She's asked about the same samples as the last witness. She performed step 1 and 3 of 4 in the DNA testing process. So she did 1 and 3. Troy Adams did step 2 due to batching, and Troy Adams also did step 4. So then they call up Troy Adams. And he used to work for the forensic scientist as a forensic scientist in Massachusetts. He explained his training and jobs. He worked on the same samples. He explains the steps he did with them, and there's no cross. Then we get Emily Oliver, forensic scientist. She explains how she did her testing and everything. Worked on the hatchet samples and gauze samples. She did the first 3 steps on the hatchet and the first 2 on the gauze. The defense is up. Materials in the environment can affect outcome. Dye from blue jeans can cause problems, but she doesn't remember other things off the top of her head that can. She isn't sure if oil or grease could inhibit it. Electropherogram is a graphical result of DNA testing. The final determination for what is determined as DNA is done by an analyst, not a machine. Then we get Mary Nagel is up. She is a forensic scientist. She worked on the handle of a hatchet and a sample with tape gauze, red-brown stains, didn't do the interpretation. Defense has questions, more questions about known inhibitors. Basically, they're trying to re-question the same ones as the last witness, get different answers. They didn't look into what caused degradation if it's found, but they can see it happened. Next up is Jolly Bregu. A forensic scientist explains her job. She performed the 4th step on the head of the hatchet, which is detection, did not do interpretation. And defense is up having her explain alleles. The judge then reads the stipulation about the DNA sample from Brian Walsh and Ana Walshe. I don't think they ever explained how they got an Ana Walshe sample. Just, but they did. State calls Karen Jacobson forensic scientist. She did second and fourth step with 2 items, DNA kits of the Ana Walshe and Brian Walshe samples. Katerina Stachin, she was a forensic scientist during the time of the investigations. She explains what a single source DNA sample is and a known standard. She worked on the Brian and Ana Walshe samples. She generated a profile for both that were appropriate for comparison, and then we have a break. Then we have Saman Salim, forensic scientist, 1 level higher than the previous one. She actually interpreted the data. So this is where we get the answers for the DNA evidence, or at least as close as we're going to get. Interior dark gray slippers, a mixture of 3 contributors. So there was someone else in there, including a male. Statistically, Ana Walshe is in the mix. Brian Walshe is in the mix as well. Cannot tell when or how the DNA was contributed. Satin, a stain on the top left slipper, mix of 2 contributors, including a male. Brian and Anna are both in it. Statistically, all of this is going to be statistically. At some point, I'm going to stop saying statistically because it's the same thing every time. Interior sleeve of Tyvek suit, 3 individuals, Anna and Brian inclusion. Stain from the pant leg of the Tyvek suit, single female contributor, Ana Walshe. Stain on another part of the Tyvek suit, true contributors, Ana Walshe, and Brian had a limited reason to be excluded. So it was an exclusion, but not 100%. Unknown tissue from the dumpster, single contributor female, Ana Walshe. Red-brown stain on the basement is 2 contributors, including male, Ana, Brian excluded. And this is a little weird, right? Like, why is there a stain in the basement with DNA from 2 people, including Ana, and Brian's excluded? I'd love to hear your theories on that one. Hacksaw stain, female single contributor, Ana Walshe included. Handle of hacksaw, single female contributor, Ana Walshe. Sample from white towel, single female, Ana Walshe. Sample of a pair of hairs, single female, Ana Walshe. Stain from rug, single female, Ana Walshe. Head of hatchet, single female, Ana Walshe. Handle of hatchet, mixture of 2. Second contributor wasn't viable, but Ana Walshe was included. Tape with apparent gauze was Brian Walshe. Like, maybe he injured himself. Remember, he picked up all of that stuff. And that's not good for Brian. All of that's bad for him, but the defense is up. This report is from January 15, 2023. She indicates one of the samples with 3 contributors. There could have been more than 3, but she saw 3. He questions how the process works. There's a human condition that can also give 3 peaks to a single person, but she didn't see that. There's evidence of that if it had been a thing. Talk of how she determined what included Ana Walshe. Her testing does not say how it was positive. If found to combine with other items in a bag and they touched each other, she can't tell the jury that it didn't come from transfer. There's an objection about a trash compactor making things touch, but if things come into contact, there'd be likely transfer of DNA. More repeats, she doesn't, she can't say how it got on the item. Could be from skin cells. She doesn't know what type of DNA it is. Red-brown stain doesn't tell where the DNA came from. So the defense is really going with, sure, Ana Walshe's blood is on all this stuff, but you don't know what bags they were in. Did they touch? Were they together? Maybe one thing had her blood, and it all just happened across. It's not as gruesome as it sounds, is what they're trying to portray. Don't know how that works with the dismemberment, pled guilty angle, but hey, the jury doesn't know that yet. Sample with 2 contributors mixture was not suitable for comparison. Defense focuses on using parentheses around an S, but that's just standard, doesn't mean multiple contributors, and there's a sidebar. Next up is Michael Roddy, who works for Home Goods. Loss prevention manager, covers 11 locations, and they submit a thumb drive. January 2nd at 9:30 a.m., Brian Walshe walks in, and I was so ready to see him fail at another self-checkout. I'm going to give you a spoiler. He doesn't have any in this. Brian is seen picking things up in a queue line. Looks like no self-checkout to confuse him. Maybe rugs are in the cart, and then we got a receipt to confirm it. 12-ounce bone mango tangerine, some candles, rolled rugs, and he used 2 gift cards. Receipt from Marshall's is shown. There was a return of children's toys and things with a customer named Ana Walshe. So Ana returned these things to get the gift card. She had to give an ID because she didn't have a receipt for them. They published a video from the 4th. Brian Walshe walking into location, looks to be buying bath rugs. Also bought towels, 2 gift cards used. Another return to the Marshalls happened December 8th. No customer name because this one had a receipt. Defense is up. It was a D.C., Maryland area return. He doesn't know if prosecution asked for video of those returns. End for the day. Tomorrow starts actually an hour later. So if you're watching, it's going to be at 10 a.m. on the Eastern Standard Time. And the evidence also might end early tomorrow, so it might be a shorter day. Now, with that being said, personally, I've got like a Pokemon launch for DLC stuff for the other channel in, I don't know, a couple hours at this point. I think, I'm not entirely sure, whenever it happens. So most likely I'll go to bed and be up covering this tomorrow. I might be a little late getting my video out, but I don't think, due to like the way the time frames are lining up, that it'll prevent me from putting out a video on this, and I'll be able to do both. But again, to be clear, Friday, don't expect anything from me. I've got something I have to do, and I'll probably have to catch up with whatever happens Friday over the weekend. Hey, at this rate, maybe something will happen and there won't even be court on Friday, because things seem to be speeding up. But I guess it kind of depends on what type of defense are we going to get? Is Brian Walsh going to testify? Is Brian going to tell the jury? Can Brian tell the jury about his plea? That was questioned early on. I don't think we ever got a 100% decision on that, publicly at least. So I guess we'll see.